could ask the grandchildren to please join me over here for a moment. If I may have your attention, please. At this time, we're going to begin the services here at the cemetery for Mr. Leonard Weiskirch. As we begin the service, I would ask if any of you have any noise-making devices, cell phones, or anything else, please turn them off at this time. Officiating the service here is Rabbi Stephen Hart, Rabbi Emeritus from Temple Chai in Long Grove.
My very dear friends, on behalf of the entire Weiskirch family, I would like to thank each and every one of you for your presence here this morning and to recognize that by being here amongst us, that you are fulfilling one of the greatest obligations and important obligations that we take upon our lives in the Jewish community. Your presence we call a mitzvah, which means that this is a sacred obligation we have in our lifetime to stand with and to support and to care for and to love those who remember and those who mourn. And so your presence has great significance not only this day, but God willing in the days and the weeks and the months to come as well, as that you continue to reach out and share your concern, to share your love, and to share your support. Of the many customs and traditions that are associated with moments such as this in Jewish life and tradition, one of the most important and one that has great personal significance is the wearing of a black ribbon, and then taking a moment to make a tear in that ribbon as well. We attach that ribbon to a piece of our clothing for this entire coming week, which we call the week of Shiva, of mourning. And the black ribbon signifies not only an outward sign and symbol that this is a time of very personal and sacred memory in our lives, but it also represents a tear in the fabric of life, and a tear in the fabric of the heart. And so it is our fondest hope and prayer that through deeds of goodness and compassion and loving kindness, in the spirit of love, and yes, the connectedness amongst the generations that are present here this day, that through all of these acts of kindness, that a full fabric of life will be rewoven once again. As we say, Baruch Atah Adonai Dayan Ha'emet, blessed are you, the Holy One of Blessing, who is the judge of truth. And to these words we say, Amen. And so I'm now going to be turning to all of the members of the family who will be wearing the black ribbon, this custom and tradition that we call kriya, the tearing of the fabric, and the fabric of the heart and of life. Dear friends, there is a very long-standing Jewish custom and tradition and practice that speaks of reciting 100 blessings each and every day. And I'd love for us to just pause for a very brief moment to reflect on what it might mean to recite 100 blessings in a day. Not just one, but 100. It's a reminder to us that we should be continually, even amidst our loss and our sorrow, even in times of mourning, that we should be in a place of praise and acknowledgement of all of our daily blessings. Of those 100 blessings, the tradition goes on to say that the most important one of all, a timeless blessing, is that of gratitude. So how appropriate, therefore, that we should once again begin this service of sacred and personal memory with a shared sense of profound gratitude. Profound gratitude for Leonard, for Lenny's life, and the meaning I know that he brought to each and every one of you. For amidst the deep sense of loss that is felt, I know, so personally amongst all of us this morning, we pause at this hour to count our collective blessings and to acknowledge all of the many, many gifts of his life and the spirit that is now a part of each of us. We are forever grateful, O Eternal One, the source of all of our blessings, for this moment to join together in sacred memory and to recall with abundant love the life, the spirit, the neshama, the soul and the spirit, and yes, the essence of our dear friend Lenny Weiskirch. Friends, it has also been a long-standing practice and tradition amidst moments of loss and sorrow to turn to selections from the book of Psalms in the Bible. It's through these words that those who have come before us have found comfort and peace and healing in their lives. This morning we will now turn to these same words with the hope and the prayer in each of our hearts that these sacred thoughts will now bring comfort to us as well. And so I'd like to ask that we turn to the booklets that you have received to the inside cover. You'll find very familiar words, the words of the 23rd Psalm. The 23rd Psalm, which has transcended and become a part of so many religious faiths and traditions. Because in many ways it's a call of the human spirit that God is our shepherd and we will dwell in the house of God forever. And so I'd like to ask that we recite these words together. Mizmor LaDavid, these words are a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I'd like to continue the recitation of these selections from the book of Psalms. I'd like to share with you a selection from Psalm 112, and words I believe that bring great meaning to all of us. For in many ways, they describe the essence of Lenny's life. Ashrei ha'adam. Blessed is the one who reveres God, who greatly delights in God's commandments. His descendants will be honored in the land, and the generation of the upright will be blessed. His household prospers, and his righteousness endures forever. For light dawns in the darkness for the upright, and for the one who is gracious and compassionate and just. He is not afraid of evil tidings. His mind is firm, trusting in God. His heart is steady. He will not be afraid. He has distributed freely. He has given to the poor. His righteousness endures forever, and his life is exalted in honor. How very, very significant it is. One might even call it God's intention. In Jewish tradition, we say it is beshert. It is meant to be. That we should gather together during this particular season of the year. For Jewish tradition teaches us that this is a time of year that is devoted to counting. Counting from the second day of Passover to the next festival, Shavuot, a counting of 49 days, recalling the journey of the ancient Israelites from Egypt to Mount Sinai. This custom is called Sfirat HaOmer. It's called the counting of the days, of recalling the journey not only of our ancestors during this season, but each and every one of our own personal life journeys and the sacred memories that we create with those we love. The book of Proverbs teaches us that you should count each and every one of your days, that you may gain a heart of wisdom. Surrounded this morning by abundant love, we pause in these sacred moments now allotted to us to recall and to count the days of a very dear presence in each of our lives. The eternal spirit, essence, and yes, the love of Lenny Weiskirch. I also thought, dear friends, it very appropriate to share the following piece of poetry that may be familiar to many. It is entitled The Dash by Linda Ellis. For its words in many ways captures the spirit of this moment and its meaning for all of us. As Linda Ellis writes, I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke of the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between the years. For that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth. And now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and how we love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you would like to change? For you'll never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. To be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never done before. If we treat one another with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is read, when your life's actions to rehash? Would you be proud of the things they say about how you lived your dash? The dash. The dash of Leonard Lenny Weiskirch. That dash was filled, if not overflowing, with kindness, with generosity, and possessing, yes, as the family spoke, possessing a gutta neshama. A gutta neshama means a good and a caring soul. And in life, we often speak of the takers, those whom are only looking to accumulate and acquire. And then, yes, there are the genuine givers, those who think exclusively about and inquire about the well-being of others, who are genuine, who are real, who regularly ask, how are you doing? Who are there to help and support. And as Jewish tradition teaches, just like Moses at the burning bush, says, Hineni, I am here. I am present for whatever you may need. For Leonard was truly everyone's cheerleader. Lenny's dash, the fullness of his days, also filled with the carrying out of the age-old Jewish tradition of L'Dor Vador, of generation to generation, with the lifelong love of his dear wife and by his side, in love and in support, the passing down of family customs and lifelong memories created on the beaches of Sarasota and Siesta Key, Florida, a place of joy and of peace spent with the family, being a supportive and caring presence in the life of the grandchildren, creating the memorable 10th birthday trips to whatever location they wanted, attending whatever school events might be taking place in their lives, authentic and real opportunities to be present and to create as many L'Dor Vador moments as possible. Lenny's dash was also filled with being a proud member of the Jewish people and a supporter of the State of Israel. Through his generous support of the Jewish United Fund and AIPAC, and many years as members of North Shore Congregation Israel in Glencoe. Yet of all of Lenny's many loves, all of his many, many passions, none was ever greater than the love he had in his heart each and every day for each and every member of his family. We're now going to hear from several members of the family speaking from their own hearts and now entering ours as well. So now I'd like to invite Michael, if you'd be kind enough to share these words with us.
A letter to my father. Dear Dad, I have always admired your ability to instantly connect with people, from close friends to complete strangers, and make them feel special. Your warm smile and love of people was an incredible strength of yours and a rare gift. You understood the intricacies of each relationship you had, who introduced who to whom, what block of the city they grew up in, where they went to school, who their immediate relatives were, and so on. It was you that we relied on to remind us of these connections and how important they were. Going to Ravinia with you meant bumping into dozens of your friends and just barely getting back in time for the intermission to complete. My childhood friends remember you fondly. My friend John, who lost his dad at a young age, thought of you as a surrogate father. This has also played into how you conducted your business as an insurance broker and friend. To hundreds of clients over the years, you and Mickey, your partner, would hand deliver calendars to clients during the holiday season. You would drive around Chicagoland, making stop after stop until you had a chance to visit with each customer. I'm pretty sure it was the time they spent with you and not the calendar that mattered. Dad, you showed us love in your marriage to Mom. This was so clear in how you took care of Mom all the way up to your dying day. You were not in great shape and in the ICU, and the first thing you wanted to know was, how was Mom? Really taking the attention away from you and not complaining about your ailing state, because that was besides the point. Mom and I paid you a visit later Sunday and watched you look adoringly towards her one last time with the love that carried you 64 years of marriage. It was clear that you loved each other very much. When you and Mom were married only 2 years, you took a trip to Florida. You were always a punctual person and generally made it to the airport well ahead of schedule, sometimes hours. On the way back to the airport for your return flight from Florida, you got caught in a major rainstorm, and then the taxi had mechanical issues, causing you to miss your flight. The taxi driver said to you, "Maybe you were not meant for this one." Shortly after the flight took off, it crashed in the Okefenokee Swamp. Since that event, back in 1962, you looked at your connection to Mom with a level of gratitude, love, and appreciation that was the foundation for your marriage. It was a gratitude I saw you share with each other at the end of a bike ride in Florida. You held hands, had a quiet moment, and recognized how wonderful life is. A moment of prayer and recognition. Dad, you were a patient and dedicated father. As an awkward 7-year-old child, I was diagnosed with hyperactivity. As Mom put it, I couldn't sit still. I believe I was a real handful. You came up with the great idea of taking me in the morning to the Highland Park track to, as you put it, get my spilkies out. We would run laps together before I went to school. It turned into a sport for me later in life, defined who I was, and helped build my confidence. When I was in 8th grade, you and I decided to take a trip to run the Boston Marathon. To complete the race, you and I ran 9 miles a day for several months in the morning before school. I will always remember that time we spent training and ultimately completing the race, as well as the time we spent in Boston together. Dad, you love Steve and I dearly. You often expressed this by being there, and you were a steady force throughout our lives. Recently, in 2020, I was sick with a 3-month respiratory illness. You made the point to call me and check in every day. While I wouldn't admit it at the time, it was exactly what I needed to help with my recovery. As your friends heard the news of your passing, They made the point over and over that you were the proudest grandparent on the planet that they knew. You attended noisy and a bit out of tune fifth grade band concerts, sweaty wrestling matches, water polo games where it was difficult for you and Mom to navigate the stairs, but somehow you made it work. Dad, you were always willing to forgive, forget, and move on in ways no one else could. You didn't hold grudges. If you got anger, it was only for a brief period of time, and you understood the long game and ultimately what's important. Regardless of what was going on with people around you, you sought to make peace. For me and many people we know, it was easier said than done, but you practiced it every day and truly understood what's important at the end of the day. Essentially, you understood mortality better than anyone I know. We are not going to be around forever. So don't dwell on the BS. Enjoy life and be thankful for what you got. We all thank you for this grace. How fitting that your 89-year journey through Chicagoland ends a mile away from where you began your life. I pass your old haunts, the historical markers, most weeks. East Rogers Park, the site of your family parking garage, Senn High School, Highland Park, Northbrook, and back. I wish you peace on your next journey. We will miss you very much.
Michael, I think that's it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. I'm now honored to share these words on behalf of Lenny's son, Steve. And I know words that were composed here, that were composed in his heart. Friends and family, thank you so much for being here to celebrate the life of Dad and to grieve the loss of this very special man. It is with deep sadness that Lenny has left us this past Wednesday at 89 years old. It still doesn't feel real to us to know he's gone. But we are so grateful for all the amazing years we got to spend with him. Lenny, my dad, was my best friend, my rock, my mentor, and most importantly, a fantastic dad. There are too many amazing ways to describe Lenny, but a few themes and characteristics that I believe embodied him. Embodied him the most are compassionate, inquisitive, social, and a traditionalist. Dad and I had a very unique relationship that I have come to cherish even more as we both have aged. If I've reflected on my own life, I often find that the first person I would call, no matter the circumstance, my most proud and my most challenging moments often included a phone call to my dad. And because of this, he was my rock. Never a moment in my life I couldn't call him for advice. There was never an ask too great that he wouldn't say he was happy to help with. I've done my best to follow in his footsteps with my sons, with Jake and with Dylan. And over the past several years, every day started with a call to my dad, and it ended with one, even if he was rushing away to watch Jesse Waters on Fox. These are the moments I will miss the most. When many of you think about Lenny, we think about this smiley and this social guy. In my 57 years of life, I cannot remember a single time at Country Kitchen where our meal wasn't interrupted by a friend of Lenny and Ann's. a testament to Lenny's compassionate and friendly aura. Oops. Oops. And seeing friends of Lenny's who grew up with him in Rogers Park and at Senn High School. It was always a source of happiness and pride for my dad to maintain and continue these 70-year-plus friendships, all of the friendships and all of the important moments shared with Mom. Without fail, every Friday and Saturday, they were booked for dinner, visiting with friends eager to share stories about their grandkids and listen as well. When I think about my dad, I often think about the traditions he began and staunchly continued. As many of you know, Lenny and Ann 52 years ago decided to venture to a warm place with white sand beaches called Siesta Key. The old man found a hidden gem, and through him, I have been able to share with my family. Siesta Key has become a home away from home and provides a happy place for all of us. I will forever miss seeing my dad on the beach in bike gear and hearing about his terrific ride in the Make a Steak Park. Lastly, my dad was eager to share his love and friendship with my wife, with Carol. He was a second father to her and treated her like one of his own. He was always there for her and always inquisitive about her life, just as he did the first time he met her 35 years ago, where he spoke with her for 2 consecutive hours. I know she will miss him dearly, all of the laughs and all of the stories that they shared. For all these reasons, Lenny was such a tremendous friend. He was a mentor and a dad. I know Lenny will always be with us in spirit, but his physical presence will always be missed. These words, Steve, I know, once again, from your heart, and together with your brothers, have touched each and every one of us. As we have noted, each of the grandchildren had a very, very special place in Lenny's heart and in his life. And so I'd like to first call Jake and Dylan to come forward and to share some brief reflections with us.
Thank you all for being here today to celebrate the life of our Grandpa Lenny. It's hard for us to know that he's gone, but we are both so grateful for the time we spend with him. Almost 27 years for Jake and 23 for me. Not many people can say that, and even fewer live in the same place to share those special memories and experiences with their grandparents. We are fortunate to have both lived in the same town and spend our entire upbringing around Grandpa. For us, Grandpa was one of our biggest cheerleaders, sources of calm and confidence, and was always curious about our lives.
It's hard to imagine a world without Lenny. We called him Len Dog. But a few memories and qualities really stood out to us that we would like to share with you. First, he was compassionate and generous of a man. He was with his friends and family. Despite the various health challenges Lenny had to overcome, he always made sure to take care of his family. Until the day he left us, he was taking care of Grandma and set an example for all of us how to treat those around you that matter the most. One may say he was a little too generous when it came to donating to the Republican Party, but we can let that one slide. He truly was a role model to us all, and we hope we can follow in his footsteps.
Grandpa had an aura about him that we will miss every day. He illuminated every room he walked into with his smile, and he never missed a chance to say hello to his friends, whether it be at Di Pescara, Flame Company, Country Kitchen, one of the other many restaurants he went to in the North Shore. Outside of the many dinners, Grandpa always made sure to be a constant in our lives. Always showing up to wrestling meets, volleyball games, and graduations. He really cared about the presence. He really cared about us, and he showed it through his physical presence at our most important life events. Grandpa. Go
Grandpa,
on.
we know you'll be at the wedding in spirit with us and engorging on a big piece of chocolate cake.
Grandpa taught us many important lessons throughout his life, but few were as important to him as spending time with family through traditions. Some of our fondest memories stem from the annual Siesta Key trip we went on with Ann and Lenny. We will deeply miss riding our bikes in the Legacy Trail, dinners in St. Armand's Circle, or walks on the beach to the Point. Whenever we think of Siesta Key, we think of you, Grandpa.
Lastly, you instilled the importance of faith and Jewish values and traditions in our lives. We will always remember the Passovers we spent finding the Afikomen in the apartment or sitting in the synagogue during Rosh Hashanah. We are so happy that you had the opportunity to travel the world, most importantly to Israel, an important piece to us both, and we place in a place we know you care so deeply about. We will continue to bring our kids and grandkids there as you know you'd want us to.
Grandpa, if we had more time, we'd want you to know how much we love you, how much we cherish the time we spend with you. We pledge to carry the traditions you've enriched our family with and all the tremendous stories you have shared. We hope we can be half the man you were when we raised a family and have grandchildren one day.
We love you, Grandpa.
And we miss you.
We miss you.
Now I'd like to ask Nathan and Eli and Kate, please to come forward. Whatever you're comfortable with.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. When we were little kids, we used to have sleepovers at my grandparents' house. And every morning, we would get up early in the morning. Grandma would be sleeping in, but Grandpa would get up with us, and we'd go for a run down the street and up the hill. And then when we were done with our run, we would come back and we would eat Count Chocula, and we would just talk with Grandpa, and he would ask us about what was going on in our lives. And I think the thing that I most loved about Grandpa was that he always just wanted to know what we had going on, and he cared so deeply to know how we were doing and how our lives are going. You know, when I grew up, we would have dinners, and every time we would see him, the first thing he would say would be, "Nathan, let me ask you a question." And then the entire dinner would just be question after question about what was going on in my life. Oftentimes, you know, about what I do for work, or how my life was going, or he would always try and understand. He wasn't great with technology, and so he never quite understood what my job was. But he always wanted to know. He also was a person who he knew what he wanted out of life, and he just like he didn't want to mess around with kind of superficial stuff. He just wanted to spend time with his family, and he wanted to eat chocolate cake and cookies and ice cream, and he worked really hard to make sure that not only he was spending time with family, but that we were all spending time with each other. He would, organize the trips to Florida, I think because he liked spending time with us, but because he just wanted us to be together as a family and to spend time with each other. And I really value the memories that we made and spending that time together. And I really appreciate what he did to kind of lead our family in that way and make that happen. So he will be dearly missed, and I hope he can have a nice piece of chocolate cake where he's going. So thank you.
I also participated in these sleepovers where I would come, and I was always so excited to sleep over. My mom never let me have any sugary cereals in the house, so I got to eat Count Chocula, which was so exciting, not only to me, but also to Grandpa, because he never let himself have Count Chocula unless he had an excuse. And he just always, every time he walked in the room, he just filled the room with joy. You can always hear his laugh and his smile. He's created so many memories and opportunities for all of us, taking us to Florida. He gave all of his grandkids and grandma a trip when you turn 10 years old to go wherever you want in the United States. So I chose Niagara Falls, which is kind of in the United States. And I'd always wanted to see Niagara Falls, and that was such an amazing opportunity for me. I've always appreciated that him and Grandma have always come out to whatever endeavors I've been participating in. Recently, I've been playing water polo, which is an extremely confusing sport for people that don't play water polo. And just the appreciation of coming out, even if you don't know which one I am in the water or how the sport works at all. I had a swim meet a couple years ago at Lake Forest, and they came out and were sitting in the hallways, and nobody else came out to Lake Forest because it's so far for people in the city, but everybody was just talking about how nice it is that my grandparents came out and how happy they looked in the hallway watching me swim. And memories like that, just how much you cared about your grandkids, just means so much to me.
One thing we all know about Grandpa Lenny is that he was the embodiment of what matters most in life, our relationships with each other. And so he's been an inspiration to me, and I hope to be even a fraction as good at nurturing my relationships as he was. That's all. Thank you.
Our hearts certainly reach out with much love to all of the members of Lenny's family. Your words have meant a great deal, I know, to each and every one of us who are present. But I'd like to take a brief moment, if I may, to speak to Anne. For 64 years, you were so very, very blessed. You were blessed to share the journey of married life, all of the peaks and the valleys, the joys and the sorrows. And true to your wedding vows, being there and supporting one another throughout your days. And so we ask God's blessings, very special blessings upon you, that God should keep you and guard you and grant you comfort and grant you peace. And once again, to Lenny's children, to Steve and to Carol and to Michael, our hearts reach out with so much love on this day of personal and sacred memory. From the daily phone calls to all of the advice and the support and the counsel, on this day we pause to count the abundant blessings bestowed upon you and your families. Your Father's essence, which is truly eternal and everlasting, will always be with you, guiding you, encouraging you, yes, teaching you. May God bless each of you and your families. And once again, to each of the grandchildren, to Jake and to his fiancée, Hannah, I will have the opportunity to officiate at a simcha, at a moment of joy, as they join together to be husband and wife, as I did for Steve and for Carol. So the spirit of Lador Vadora from generation to generation is so much present here. So to Jake and to Dylan, to Nathan, Meredith, Eli, Kate, all of the abundant love that your grandfather shared with you. And to all of the members of the extended family, all of those who were blessed to call Lenny a dear friend, we say with love, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. May the good name of Leonard Weiskirch ever be remembered for much goodness and for blessing. And to all these words we now say, Amen. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, with love we will always remember him. In the blowing of the wind, in the chill of the winter, with love we will always remember him. In the opening of the buds, the rebirth of the spring, with love we will always remember him. In the rustling of leaves and the beauty of autumn, with love we will always remember him. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, with love we will always remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, with love we will always remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, with love we will always remember him. When we have joys that we yearn to share, with much love, we will always remember him. So long as we live, O God, he too shall continue to live, for he is now a part of each and every one of us, as on this day with much love we have now remembered him. Friends, we are going to be turning to the concluding words of our service, as we begin with the El Malei Rachamim, God of mercy and God of compassion, and then to be followed by the Mourner's Kaddish. So I'd like to ask once again that you may turn to the booklets you've received on the inside cover, as we turn to the words of El Malei Rachamim, God of mercy and God of compassion. I'd like to ask for those who are seated, if you're comfortable in doing so,
recording
please
in
to
progress.
El Malei Rachamim Shochein B'Maromim. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence, among the holy and the pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of Leonard Weiskirch, who has gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring him under the cover of thy wings, and let his soul be bound up in a bond of eternal life. Be God's possession, and may his repose be peace. And we say, Amen. I invite you now, please, to turn to the back cover of your booklets. These are sacred words in Jewish life and tradition, words that have united the generations, all of those who stood in their time of memory and loss and recited these ancient words. As we take note of each and every word of the Kaddish, we recognize that not one of the words we will speak, not one of them, is a reference to death or to loss. Rather, the words of the Kaddish, the intent is to praise, to give thanks, to join together in acknowledging the many, many blessings of life. And so we are now all honored to recite these words together. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yomad divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayichon uv'yomechon uv'chayedechol beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'zman kariv v'meru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mivorach, le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'ilma v'imveru amen. Yehesh lama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imveru amen. O se shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imveru amen. O se shalom b'imromav, may the one who causes peace and harmony and wholeness and well-being to dwell on high. May a measure of shalom, of peace and comfort and of healing now be brought to all of those who remember with love, and we say, Amen. Yahaseh shalom, Yahaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahaseh shalom, Yahaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. And please be seated.
I'm just going to stand.
And I'll do that at the end.
Grandpa would have laughed.
He didn't want you to sit, Jake.
On behalf of the President of the United States and a grateful nation, I present to you this flag in recognition, thanks, and praise for your husband's service to our country.
That would be great. Thanks.
No. 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 Why'd you go?
Yes, sir.
So, friends, we have one final custom and tradition, and that is not merely to witness this moment, but to participate in it. And in Jewish practice, it is once again considered one of our highest obligations to be able to not only stand with the mourners, but in this moment to share a final act of loving kindness with Lenny. And we do this by coming forward, if we're comfortable, by taking 3 shovelfuls of earth and placing it upon his grave. The number 3 becomes very significant because it affirms a sacred intention. That sacred intention is to share our love with him. So beginning with the immediate members of the family who will be coming forward, and anyone else who wishes to participate in this final mitzvah, this final sacred obligation, we invite you to do so.
As we proceed with the interment, 3 quick announcements. First, if you participate today, please watch your step at all times around the open grave. Second, after the interment, the public visitation is from 5 until 8, but the family invites all of you to join them immediately at Stephen Carroll's residence, 1241 Eaton Court in Highland Park. The final announcement, if any of you were not able to sign the register book when you arrived today, I'm going to move this stand over here. Please take a moment and sign the register book. Thank you.
We'll do one.
Mom, this is for you. That'll take a while. Yeah.
Anyone else wishing to participate, please step forward. Gentle reminder, if you were not able to sign the register book when you arrived, there is the register book over here. Thank you.
When I was here, your dad was a great friend, and I always heard about you and the whole family and how great his sons were.
Great son's great. We're gonna miss him.
Understand why?
Special man.
Great insights today. I wanted to clap, but I knew that were appropriate.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Nice talking to you.
Yeah.
Positive and negative. Gotta go find my collection box.
Yep.
This concludes the service here at the cemetery. Thank you.